the game.
Hey there, I'm Kel Siddiqui. What started as helping people with their money at my dining room table grew into a 7-figure financial coaching practice. Now I teach others how to build a thriving coaching business of their own. Whether you're just starting out or you've been coaching for years, I'm here to help you make a bigger impact while doing what you love. This is the Financial Coach Academy podcast. Let's dive in. Hey, Coach. Welcome back to the Financial Coach Academy podcast. In episode 96, we talked about preparing to hire your first team member. This is often an assistant or virtual assistant, and the person's job is to take some of the administrative work off your hands. Today, we're diving into what happens next, how to actually train them once they're on board. Really quickly, though, as you listen to today's episode, I want you to think about the systems you have in your business. You might be thinking this all sounds great, but I just don't have time to dedicate to bringing on someone new. I spend too much time managing # all the things. Well, what if you could put parts of your coaching business on autopilot? With systems that nurture leads, support clients, and keep everything running smoothly. That is exactly what our systems and automation coach, Erica, helps you to create. In one 2-hour session, she'll map out your entire client journey and show you how to automate the routine tasks that are eating up your time. This is one area where you can't afford to skimp. Find out more about how systems can help you achieve this goal at financialcoachacademy.com/systems. financialcoachacademy.com/systems. Here is an awesome review that we got. We want to feature a comment on our YouTube channel from Rebecca Batista. After watching episode 88, Adopting Sustainable Systems, she commented, quote, LOL, feel called out on the all-in-one, but I totally get it. Working on starting all over now that I finally figured it out, but so glad to also have FCA to do it over right. Rebecca, we are so happy you feel that you have the support in the Academy to go back and recreate those systems in your business in a way that will last you much longer and be a healthier way of launching your business. We are thrilled to have you in the Academy, my dear. All right, Coach, I am going to be really honest with you. This journey I'm going to share with you today is going to stretch you in ways that you might not expect. But just like we teach our clients at Fiscal Fitness Phoenix that growth happens when we step out of our comfort zone, the same is true for you. And let me tell you something. Hiring your first support person might actually be more difficult than launching your business. Everyone talks about how hard it is to start a business. I actually think this phase is harder. I know that might sound scary, but stay with me here. When you launched, you were focused on one thing, getting clients and serving them well. But now you're learning a completely different set of skills while still running the business, right? So let's start with the mindset that you've hired someone and now you have to open the doors and let them into your business. When I first started thinking about training someone to help in my business, I felt this weird mix of guilt and fear. Guilt because these tasks seem so simple. How could I justify paying someone else to do them? And fear because, well, what if they didn't do things exactly the way that I wanted them done? But I realized that by trying to do everything myself, I was actually holding my business back. Not just that, I was holding myself back from serving my clients in the best way possible. You know that feeling when you're in a coaching session and everything just flows? When you're completely present with your client, helping them transform their relationship with money, that is your zone of genius. That's where you need to be spending more of your time. Let me share something that happened in our team recently. We were having one of our typical meetings, you know, the kind where ideas are flowing everywhere. Jacqueline, Jill, and I were getting super excited about new program ideas, and I look over at our director of operations, Erica, who was sitting there taking notes. At first, I worried that maybe she felt left out of all the excitement. But then I saw her face light up, not because of the ideas themselves, but because she was already mapping out how to turn our chaos into an organized, actionable plan. That is her zone of genius. And here's something else I've learned. There's this sneaky trap I call the excellence zone. I talked about this more in episode 96, but things in your zone of excellence are those tasks you're actually pretty good at. You might even enjoy them a little. For me, it was things like organizing client financials into a spreadsheet and setting up systems. I could do it well, but it didn't light me up like coaching did. The trap is that because you're good at it, it's easy to keep doing it yourself. But every minute you spend, there is a minute that you're not spending in your true zone of genius. And your zone of genius is where your business grows and thrives. So let's set you up for spending the bulk of your time here in your zone of genius. That's what hiring an assistant creates for you. Now, let's talk about what it actually looks like when you bring someone new onto your team. Just like we create personalized money plans for our clients because we know everyone's situation is different, we need to create a personalized training plan for our new team member. I learned this lesson the hard way. At first, I tried to train my first new hire while maintaining my full client load. Let me tell you, that was not my brightest idea. It's like trying to build a house while also running a marathon. Something's got to give when you're in that state. Here's what actually works. Block off about 20% of your usual client hours for the first few weeks that your new employee starts. Yes, I know that sounds crazy from a revenue perspective, but think about it like this. Just as we tell our clients that sometimes we need to invest money to save money, sometimes you need to invest time to make more time. And here is a practical tip that I wish someone had told me earlier. Have a rainy day project ready. This is the type of project or task that your new hire can work on when they're waiting for answers from you. For me, this was organizing my client CRM. It was perfect because they could do it in chunks, 5 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and it didn't require constant oversight by me. It's a very repetitive type thing, right? Those types of busy projects are terrific when someone first starts and you can't be with them every minute of the day. Here's another practical tip from one financial coach to another. Create a growth fund or a new hire fund where you can save a little bit of money each month. This will help you absorb a loss of revenue or the newly added expense until you're able to drive your revenue again. Now, let's talk about a training framework. At the Financial Coach Academy, we've developed a 7-step training process that I'm going to share with you. But first, let me tell you why we created it. You see, we kept seeing coaches try to train their team members the way they'd been trained in corporate jobs. Very rigid and formal, but that wasn't working for small personal businesses like ours. So step 1 is show and tell. This first step is all about context. You know, when you're coaching a client and you don't just tell them to spend less, you help them understand why and how that's an important step for them to take, right? It's the same here. When we train someone on our client onboarding process, for example, we share stories about why each step matters and how that step is connected to the next step and other steps so that they're able to see the bigger picture as well as all the individual steps. And the client experience overall is important when mapping out each individual step. Step 2, do it together. This is where we're working side by side, just like you would work with a client who's learning to budget for the first time. When we trained our team on our money master plan process, we sat together and worked through real world scenarios. We talked about the tough situations that come up and how to handle them. Better yet, record yourself doing some of your tasks before your new hire starts. That way they can review the videos between your training sessions with them and you're not repeating yourself a million times. More about that in episode 96. Step 3, watch them lead. Now comes the part that might make you nervous, letting them teach it back to you. I remember the first time I did this, I was shocked by how much I'd forgotten to explain and also which parts they picked up on naturally and which parts they forgot about. You are about to learn a lot about your new hire by having them show you how they would do it on their own before actually releasing them to do it on their own. Pro tip here, provide feedback only at the end of their demonstration. Chances are they will get to a step and realize that they skipped a prior step all on their own. Let them learn that by doing it. It's much more valuable. If you interject every time they make one small mistake, you could be robbing them of the learning experience that they need to discover it on their own. And they're more likely to remember it for the next time when they learn it themselves. Step 4, independent practice. This is when the employee or team member does the task on their own. You are off working on other things or meeting with your clients. This is where your rainy day project becomes crucial, coach. They need to know that they can be productive even when they're stuck waiting for your input because they still need step 5, which is when you review their work. All too often, managers train someone on a task one time, then expect them to go and do it flawlessly, and then get upset later when they find there's been a repeated error made. By showing them, then doing it together, then having them teach you, then and only then allowing them to do it independently, but with a scheduled review built in, that is how we have delegated effectively. Try to look at what they've done, the steps that they took in their process, their result, with fresh eyes, and double check their result for accuracy and thoroughness. Steps 6 and 7 are feedback and then refinement. These last steps are ongoing. It's just like working with clients. You adjust and refine as you go. We are going to repeat steps 4, 5, and 6, which are the individual doing the task independently, you reviewing their work, and then providing feedback until no feedback is necessary. By following this process, it takes more time up front. Absolutely. I don't want to lie to you and tell you that it doesn't, because it does. But you're being proactive and not reactionary later. You're catching fewer errors on the back end, putting out a lot less fires, and overall, the working relationship is built on trust and open communication and feedback. The team member learns that feedback is part of the learning process. It doesn't only come when they do something wrong and you're putting out a fire. We start with simpler tasks like scheduling and gradually moving up to more complex processes. That's how you delegate and train effectively. I don't talk about it all too often on this podcast, but before I started my financial coaching business, but after I was a financial advisor, that's when I went into corporate finance and accounting. I worked up the corporate ladder and at one point managed a team of 30 accountants. I actually loved training and mentoring my team, and I still get messages periodically from them on LinkedIn and social media, which is always a nice little treat. The part that was hard was about being a manager specifically was needing to communicate to my team laterally with other managers who also had their own teams and their own ways of doing things, and with the higher-ups who were ultimately the ones making decisions. But I look back on my time as a manager quite fondly, and it taught me a few other really important aspects that could serve you well too, coach. Let's first talk about communication systems. One mistake I learned early on is that it's not a good idea to be available all of the time for questions. It might sound counterintuitive, right? But it meant I was constantly interrupted and couldn't focus on my real work. It also meant the team member could get quick answers and not necessarily think through a problem on their own first. Here's what we do now. We have specific check-in times for new hires throughout the day. You know when you're going to talk about important stuff. For us, it's 9 a.m., noon, and 4 p.m. In the meantime, if not getting an answer stalls their progress on a project, then they have those rainy day projects that they can work on. And just like we help our clients create different accounts for different purposes with their money, we use different channels for different types of communication on our team. Urgent needs that can't wait, those are usually handled via Slack. Questions for our next check-in, these are kept in a Google Doc that we use when we meet, and that doc is linked on the Google Calendar for that meeting. Ideas for improvement. I encourage team members to keep these lists themselves so that we can discuss during our all-team meeting when we have a time where employees are expected to bring feedback and ideas to the table. And then weekly planning. We keep these tasks in Asana, which is our project management software, but each employee posts their weekly goals and tasks in Slack every Monday as well. We are a fully remote team with team members all over, not just the U.S. but also the world. And while I absolutely wish that I saw my staff more because I genuinely think they're amazing, cool people, I am routinely in awe of how productive and communicative we all are, while also having the total flexibility of working from wherever we are. Another aspect of managing a team that's important is maintaining the long-term view. You know what's been fascinating to me? When I think back on our journey at Fiscal Fitness and the Financial Coach Academy, some of our biggest leaps forward happened after I learned, let me say that again here, after I learned to let go and trust my team. It's a lot like what we teach our clients about money. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the practical steps, it's the emotional journey. The more I learned to trust them, the easier it got. You hear Jill on these podcast episodes sometimes. You've got Jacqueline coaching on some of our monthly meetups. Erica supports coaches with their systems, just like she's doing for our own systems. Clients talk with my client concierge team just as much as they talk with their assigned coach. And now my team members are hiring new team members and letting tasks go themselves. It is so fun to watch. Think about why you started your coaching business. It wasn't just about making money. It was probably about making a difference. Adding someone to your team isn't about making your life easier, though that is a great bonus. It's about expanding your impact. Imagine if all of your time was spent just coaching clients. How would that feel? I want you to know that that is possible for you. Maybe not tomorrow or this year even, but use that vision as your guiding light. The idea that you are working in your zone of genius, whatever that may be, and you've got other people working in theirs. That is your vision. Just like we tell our clients, progress over perfection. Your first attempt at delegation won't be perfect, and that's okay. What matters is that you're taking steps to grow your business in a way that serves more people while honoring your own energy and time. If you're feeling overwhelmed by this process, I want you to know that's completely normal. It's exactly why we created the Financial Coach Academy, because even though we've been there, we've made mistakes too, and we have figured out what works. Next episode, Coach, I've got a special guest that I can't wait for you to meet, but you'll just have to wait and see who it is. So make sure you hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening. But before our next episode, I want you to do 3 things. Write down everything that lights you up in your business, those moments when time just flies by. Number 2, list 3 tasks that drain your energy but could easily be done by someone else. And then 3, record yourself doing just one of those tasks, explaining it as if you were teaching a friend. Just like we tell our coaching clients, you don't have to figure this out alone. Remember, your success as a coach isn't measured by how many hats you wear, but by the lives you transform. I'll see you next week, Coach. That's all for today. If you're ready to grow your own financial coaching business, head over to financialcoachacademy.com for helpful resources and tools. If this episode helped you, hit subscribe and leave us a review. I'll see you next week.